Hey guys, Dan here with another review, and this time I'm reviewing The Boy on the Bridge by M.R. Carey. If you're not familiar with this title, this is a prequel to The Girl with All the Gifts by the same author. If you're not familiar with M.R. Carey, he usually goes by Mike Carey, and he has written for comics such as X-Men, Fantastic Four, and I think Daredevil. Don't quote me on that. There's a couple of other ones I'm not 100% sure on which other comics he's written for. But I've always been very impressed with his writing. He knows how to write like science fiction and horror quite well. And when I heard that this book came out, I was highly anticipating reading it because I really enjoyed The Girl with All the Gifts. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I can link down below my review of that. If you have not read that book, I would highly recommend not watching this video because I'm not going to hold back any spoilers. Yes, you can read this book without having read The Girl with All the Gifts. But I think in the end, by the time you get to the end of this book, you're not going to 100% understand all of what's going on. You're not going to understand why things happen the way they do. I think the author intended for everyone to read The Girl with All the Gifts and then read this, even though it is a prequel. It does. Majority of this book takes place before that one. It's set in a world where there's like a zombie-type plague, and I say zombie-type because it's a fungus that's based on a fungus that takes over the minds of ants in Latin America, and it's like the author kind of puts it like, imagine if that had jumped up the animal kingdom ladder and it's infected humans, but they're kind of like zombies. So it's really interesting take on the whole zombie plague. That's one of the reasons why I really enjoyed The Girl with All the Gifts. So this one kind of mentions like one of the vehicles, the Rosalind Franklin, which is like this mobile lab that's kind of like a tank. And they mention that in the end of The Girl with All the Gifts, and this is about the crew that was a part of that team that was in the Rosalind Franklin, where we meet a wide assortment of characters. They all have their own personality quirks, but one of them is Stephen Greaves, who is a teen who has autism, and he's very smart, and he's the inventor of the E-blocker, which is the thing that makes it so that the Hungries are what they call the zombies in this world, so they can't smell them. So he's very smart, and he's like kind of persuaded to come along with this group. And it's just, I don't want to spoil it because I thought it was really good. I did enjoy this, but I didn't think it was as strong a story as The Girl with All the Gifts. I did end up rating this 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I felt like the story could have been a little more developed. It could have been a little more drawn out. Like things could have been, they could have filled in some gaps from before. Like that's what I was anticipating, was learning how Melanie and her group of children ended up in Beacon to begin with. And I was kind of hoping that this book would have filled that in, but they didn't. So that's why I kind of felt like this, and I was being generous when I rated this 4 out of 5 stars. It's really a strong 3 book. I mean, it's enjoyable. And I know some criticisms from other reviews I've seen of this book where some people thought it was a little too technical with the first quarter of the book or the first third of the book. They do talk about a lot of tactical stuff and how they're setting up their missions and how they're going about getting samples and stuff like that. So there is a lot of military and scientific jargon in the beginning of the book. But that didn't really dissuade me from enjoying it. I read this at a rather fast pace for it being like, okay, it was only like 390 pages. But I read it at a pretty good pace. I finished this relatively fast. If you are a fan of zombie fiction, I think you'll get something out of this. If you're a person who reads comics but just doesn't read a lot of like regular fiction, I think this is worth picking up too. But like I said, I would go and read The Girl with All the Gifts first because I really think you'll get more out of this book if you read that one first. And before I end this video, I want to throw out there the movie adaptation was something that I also was highly anticipating. And I was kind of disappointed by that as well. Like, it didn't have the same feel as the book did. Just throwing it out there. It's just my opinion. But if you like the video, like it, share it with your friends. If you're not already a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button. I do tend to review a lot more comics, graphic novels, and trades than I do regular fiction, but I do reviews of regular fiction at times. Adult fiction for the win. BookTube's already full of too much YA. That's why I left BookTube. But thanks for watching. Until next time, later guys.